Yeah, okay, good.
Welcome everybody. We are in day 8 of our 10 days here at Hilton Head Chamber Music Institute, and I think most of you know us, but for those of you that don't, we're a 10-day festival. We've got 4 string quartets, high school students from around the country, and they've been working intensively to present a couple concerts tomorrow night and Saturday morning. And so far this week we've been able to visit a memory care unit and play for them. Played for the library this morning. Been to a couple of retirement homes. I think our last opportunity to do something is right now. And then all that will be left will be the final concerts tomorrow night and Saturday morning. And then everybody will be disbanding. So it's been a flurry of activities these 8 days. And we are thrilled to have composer Charlton Singleton here with us, who wrote this piece that these students are working on. And I think it was beyond hope that we'd be able to actually get him here, even though we knew that he was in the vicinity, and one of the reasons why we programmed this piece. But so we were thrilled to be able to hear him Monday night at the Jazz Corner, and he's brought along his axe, his version of his axe there. And so we knew we'd be able to hear him Monday night, but then to be able to have him here Thursday morning is a real honor. And so please welcome Charlton Singleton.
Thank you.
So we'll start with the performance of the piece, and then Mr. Singleton's going to take it away.
I'm always, well, first of all, I'm always amazed when I hear, and it's hard for me to say it when youngsters, because I still feel like I'm young. When young people play as well as they do, that was very, very inspiring to hear and watch. Thank you all. There's not really a whole lot that I would change. I would just call your attention to a few things. When I was in high school, I was very fortunate to have a band director that always led off with, whenever he gave us a new piece of music, even if it was some of the most easy grade one, things, he would always give us a backstory on it. And having the backstory on anything just sort of prepares you, I think, on what you're listening to. It's just like when you're about to go and watch an opera or something, and they give you the cliff notes on it or whatever have you. And so you're prepared about what you're going to see. And the same thing for me works with music. I feel like if anybody has the backstory on why the piece was written or how it was composed or whatever, then that helps whoever is performing it. For this particular song, it's kind of a miracle, I think, on how it came to fruition. I grew up in Allendale, South Carolina, in a small community called the 10 Mile community. Now, let me ask this. How many of you all are from here?
Originally or now?
Right. So in the Gullah world, we would say, y'all boy come ya. All right? Anybody from ya, born and raised here? All right? Okay. Down there. And so, if you are not familiar with the Gullah community, it's a bunch of islands that stretch from Wilmington, North Carolina, down the coast of South Carolina, down the coast of Georgia, and to the top of Florida around, I think it ends around St. Augustine, so just south of Jacksonville. On these islands, and Hilton Head is one of them, let's not get it twisted. On these islands, many, many, many years ago, are where former West African enslaved people lived, and they were able to maintain things like the way that they prepared food, how they interacted with each other, whether it was in how they worshiped with each other, how they entertained each other. They developed their own language, just a whole bunch of things. And so, me being a descendant of the Gullah community, living right in that area of the 10 Mile community, which is right on the water. Like in our neighborhood, we could go out on the back road, we could stand out and look across and see, I don't know if anybody's familiar with the Isle of Palms. We can look over and see the Isle of Palms. That's one of those islands. My grandfather was born on Capers Island, which is slightly north of that. So it's in the DNA, that so to speak. Now, growing up in 10 Mile and in my house, my father he's retired now, of course, he's 91 years young. He was an AME minister, AME church minister. And so going to church was just not an option. We were at church, every day. And in the Gullah community, church is just non-negotiable. You're going, Back then, if you were a lot younger, it was going to a praise house or something like that, which is a small room. You could probably fit about 5 or 6 praise houses in this room right here. That's how small they are. But going to church, there was always an experience, and growing up, there were lots of musical experiences. And so, fast forward to when this came up, I had no idea about the 50 for the Future project. I was very familiar with the Kronos Quartet, but I didn't know about this project. And David Harrington, who's the founder and leader of the Kronos Quartet, apparently he got in touch with someone in the Gullah community, with some commission or some group or whatever have you, and he was looking for someone to write a Gullah piece. And this person said, well, why don't you chat with this band that's in Charleston? Their names are the name of the band is Ranky Tanky. They are doing more of a contemporary style of Gullah, and they are starting to, get some steam. This is about maybe 2017, 2018, somewhere around that, I can't remember exactly. But we end up getting into this email thing, and the initial thought was that the band would write this song and hand it over to the quartet. And when we all talked about it, we said, well, it might be a little different or difficult for us to get together. And at that time, we all weren't living in Charleston. Contrary to belief, we don't all live in Charleston. The guitarist in our band has been living in Brooklyn for the last 21 years. And that, like I said, that was like 2017 and 2018, and the bassist had just moved to New York as well. So anytime we were all around together, it was usually at the, getting on the plane or going on stage. That's kind of how it worked. And so we just said, it's probably going to be difficult for all of us to, go back and forth online or, have some big writing session or whatever have you. Maybe we should take a pass on this, and so I'm sort of the default spokesman for the group. And so I got back in touch with David, and he said, well, let's talk, can you give me a call? So we get on the phone, and he's telling me how he comes to understand Gullah through his daughter, and how he wanted to have this piece, and I told him my background and everything, and he said, so what do you think? And I said, well, we're gonna take a pass, I'm sorry, because it would be too much for all of us to get together and get this in your deadline. And he said, well, why don't you just write it? And I said, I don't think that's a good idea. And he said, why not? And I said, well, I've never written anything for a string quartet. I've never really written any classical music. I mean, I have a degree. I can't read alto clef. And you're asking me to do all of these first things, ever in my life for the Kronos Quartet. That's like if I've never written a piece of music in my life and somebody say, I need you to write a song for Beyonce, and it's gotta be like that. And I'm like, no, this is, you're really asking for trouble, and it's not probably gonna happen. And he said, everything that you just said, and I was like, yeah, and he said, that's why you gotta do it. And I said, huh? I said, you have you basically have a blank canvas because of this. Just think of something, I'm sure it'll be fine, he said, here's some examples of people that have done things before, and just write something and we'll make it work. And if you ever get a chance to meet David, or if you've ever met him, he's a very soft-spoken guy, and he's extremely nice and extremely confident, and he is just, you know, one of the best people. He just really is. And he just made it sound like, you know, here I am, this, you know, I'm 50 or so years old, whatever have you, but I feel like I'm a student of his, and, you know, my teacher is just giving me all of the confidence in the world. And so, also, as I am on the phone and, you know, practically yelling now, no, I can't do this, no. You know, my wife walks in from another room, and she hears it, she looks at me and she mouths as she says, you know, which is something that I've told a lot of other people. So she's basically giving me my own advice. You know, so we agree, and I'm just now I'm feeling the pressure, and I had gotten into a conversation with the drummer in our band, Quentin, and frequently we get into these quick little discussions based off of our experiences growing up. We have very similar experiences, and we act as though we're brothers because we have had these similar experiences. And we were talking about growing up in church, and the topic of the prayer band came up. Now, the prayer band in church, and here's where we sort of get into the piece a little. The prayer band in church is not a band per se, like you would think, like a band that has a drummer, a bass player, and a guitarist, and a keyboard, and all of that stuff. The prayer band at our church, or in most of these historically black churches, consists of 4 people, and their instruments are their voices, their hands to clap, and their feet to stomp. That's it. And that's really what the basic Gullah music is. Because remember, we're going way back to, you know, 1700s with the Gullah. You know, Gullah predates a lot of stuff. A lot of times when Ranky Tanky's out on the road and people say, oh, your music sounds like jazz, oh, your music sounds like folk music, it sounds like spiritual, it sounds like gospel. And we sort of say, no, actually, those are the new genres. And you can find Gullah in those if you really listen close and you're understanding what it is. Because we didn't have spirituals or country music or Americana or folk or any of these things back in the 17 and 1800s. No, those are the new things. Gullah's been here for a long time. You know, look at right over here, Defusquiada, right? I always play this one off on the words, Defusquiada, 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 Defusquiada. Think of it that way. So, this prayer band is usually 4 people. Usually 4 people. The prayer band, the youngest person in the prayer band is usually in their late 50s or so, early 60s. The oldest person in the prayer band is probably in their 80s or 90s. When the prayer band is going to come up and they are going to sing maybe 2 or 3 songs, it's usually at the beginning of church, or if they're at another church in the afternoon for a program or something like that. Nowadays, the contemporary term people would call it would be praise and worship. It's usually something that's going to warm up the congregation for what the service is going to be, okay? The majority of the time when I was growing up, it was usually seeing the prayer band at an afternoon, a singing, that's what they would call it, or a choir anniversary or something like that. And there would be somebody that would say, all right, now we'll hear from the Greater Zion AME Church prayer band number 1. They're sitting in their chairs. Now we'll hear from them, and they'll stand up. Everybody will do a little quick applause. And whoever is the youngest person in that group will start leading them up to the front. And as they're leading them up to the front, they are probably walking, relatively slow to get up to the front. They start to sing a song. And when they're singing this song, it's not really a song that nobody knows. They're just sort of telling everybody, what the Lord has done for them at that particular, through their life, and just walking out. Oh, the Lord, what he's done for me. Just something. They're taking their time and getting up there. The rest of them are behind them in tow, and they're just sort of going on what their leader at this particular time is singing. And so they are just sort of in the background, just going, whatever. They're just sort of just this drone background, okay? But whoever is that leader and is going up there, they are now pouring out all of this emotion in terms of how they are leading everybody up to the front. Play the beginning. Now I noticed when you all did it before, you all had great communication. Great. I saw you looking across the board, and that's what a great string quartet does, right? You can even slow it down even more. Somebody now in this group, as we're walking up to the front, is going to sort of catch on to what they're singing. They're trying their hardest to harmonize with them. Sometimes it can be very accurate, sometimes not, but they are going to be harmonizing a little bit with them. It doesn't have to click as much, but that's the whole thing. Stop. So right here, everybody's at the front now. Usually, this is where they will say, "Good afternoon, we're the Greater Zion AME Church, prayer band number 1. We bring you greetings from the church, from our pastor, blah, blah, blah. We hope you enjoy these couple selections. We invite you to sing along." And instead of saying that, I just basically put a little button on what they were doing. So, starting with the pickup, right where you are. Greater Zion. Here. We hope that you enjoy it and sing it. Cool. At this point, now that young person is going to lead them into something that's a little bit more rousing and uplifting, okay? And it's going to involve the Gullah rhythm, all right? Now, the Gullah rhythm. The Gullah rhythm is 1 measure long And it's broken down into 3 different parts. The full gullah rhythm is this. To the naked ear, it's a quarter note, or a dotted quarter note, an eighth note, followed by a quarter rest and a quarter note. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Usually you get the accent on the eighth note and then on the quarter note at the end. All right? But then there are other people that will put the accent on the 1. Okay, so this is the full. Then you have the half clap. Full, half. Then there's the 1. All right? All of those things are going to happen. And they actually all come at a specific time in a hymn or a song. For example, if we were singing, there's a hymn called Jesus, the Light of the World, okay? So there's definitely a verse, and then you have a chorus, all right? So in the verse, you have everybody doing the 1, so that you can actually hear all of the words of that verse, all right? Angels sing, Jesus, the light of the world, glory to the newborn King. Right before you're getting ready to go to the chorus, someone, whoever is probably the oldest or the elder of the church, they are probably going to signal when we are going to go to the full by doing the half clap to signal how we're going. So, glory to the newborn King, Jesus, the light of the world. Here we go. And we will walk in the light. Now everybody's doing it, right? So that's generally how those 3 work, okay? Starting it off. And remember, this is sort of the fast one. So now that's why you got the younger person that's doing this. Okay? Okay? This is the up-tempo one, okay? Now, we've got all of those things happening, all of those rhythms going, those 3. But there's always someone that's kind of a little bit extra. Okay? And they are going to do what we call the double clap. Okay? Which is basically clapping off beat. Okay? They're the ones that are going to clap off beat. Okay? So if we've got everybody doing this, and then we've got, actually, let's do this. All right, let's do this. Okay? Everybody over here, you're on the 1. Okay? Everybody over here, you've got the half. All right? Over here, you've got the full. All right? Everybody, we're starting off with the 1. 1, 2, everybody 1. And don't speed up, because if you speed up, whoo, they'll stop everything and they will drag you up to the altar and pray for you. Alright? Alright? You all keep doing that. You all keep doing that. We're going to get you all doing the half. Here we go. on. It could be simultaneous. Sometimes some people from this side may jump into doing that. Sometimes they may jump into doing this. The majority of the time, we've got the full going until if there's a verse again and we have to break it down. Now, here's where that X factor person comes in. Usually, in any popular music nowadays, I would consider it being like a drum fill. When you get to the end of the chorus or the end of the phrase and you hear the drummer play something and then they splash it right back down on the one. Usually, that's what the double is, okay? So if we're going, okay? Let's try 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You all doing the fill. Don't speed up. Keep that going, all right? Don't move. Don't move. No matter what I do, don't move. All right? It can be difficult. That's why I say you just have to maintain. You have to maintain. And then while that's going on, you have, because we're in usually older churches, there's wooden floors, you have people stomping too. So there's this going on. And then, if you get those people that are proficient, then they're going. So, now we move to the second part.
That's Amanda.
Hi, Amanda. Thank you for playing it right. I say that because I love David. They messed up the part in the I was just like, you know, so it's technically not that hard if you're just looking at it on paper. If you are going to play it by yourself, easy to play. When you've got everything else circling around you, it can be a little difficult for you to maintain your part. So that's where the complexity in it comes in, okay? All right, so let's try it. And remember, for this particular one, we don't want it to speed up, because if it speeds up, then we're probably gonna go into, you know, almost disaster mode, okay? So just remember to maintain as best you can. It's a little bit more difficult, you know, than it looks. Especially because the rhythms, they lock in so well to each other. And if you are off by just a hair, then that could throw everything off, the rest of it off, all right? So, remember, this is the one clap, right? Then we're gonna add on. remember, you're the leader, so you can interpret that as however you want. Remember, this is a spiritual moment for this group. And so they are really singing from the heart. And whatever emotion that you can put into it, because we are not, we don't have anybody that's going to be playing any specific rhythm with you, or any harmony with you, or have any sort of same movement as you. You can interpret this. Yeah. Keep that in mind. They're just they're the support. They're the foundation. And this can go on. This song can go on at this particular moment for 20 minutes. It could. It could. Yeah, it really could. It has the potential to get everybody in the church up and just, clapping and singing and stomping. It has that potential. Okay. Remember, once again, this is the young person. All right. And so they are just energizing the whole church. The whole congregation is getting the energy off of this. Once they are finished with that song, or that they do, then now whoever the usually older, next to oldest person is going to step forward and now start telling everybody about what their spirit is, what the Lord has done for them. And it is, once again, going to be very expressive and emotional. So when you are doing your part and they are just, there's really no, they're just playing the chords in the back, okay? But your job now is to express that melody as you want. You can put you can put some more glissandos in there if you want. It doesn't have to be, you can bring it back a little bit. It could be very rubato, even more than you think, But that's now where we are in this whole presentation of this prayer band. All right. So let's start at the concert C and the pickup by the cellist. This is after the bum, You can play the C. Fantastic. My personal taste, I wouldn't put any space in between that. I wouldn't put any space when you all land on that last F minor chord.
can you say because?
I like for it all joined together.
Thank you.
No theoretical term for it, no nothing. It's just a feeling. And there's another thing about that feeling. There is an old saying in most black churches that the devil doesn't know when you're talking about when you moan. This is an older person. They've lived through a lot, especially on these Gullah Islands where a hurricane is usually gonna come every year. They've survived. Through thick and thin, Lord's been there. Through every traumatic experience, Lord's been there. We're talking about it now. All right? We get to that part. We perform that part. Now the eldest one in this little quartet, in this prayer band, is gonna come in and they're gonna take it home. They probably were in this and probably in the position of whoever the young one is, and over the years, you know, somebody else has come in, but they are the oldest person in the prayer band currently, and they are gonna take it home. It's not as fast as the one that we did before, as that youngster did, but it is equally as effective, and everybody in the church is all in on it. They don't clap as fast like that. They were probably back there just doing the one clap on the fast song, you know. And so now when it's their turn, and they're just going, there it is right here. That's just that good old, that's that good feeling, rocking back to side, right there. That's all I need. Right there. So at first, I was gonna have them do this, you know, and I originally wrote that they needed to put their instruments down and they were going to, you know, like stomp for real and clap and stuff like that. And David was like, oh, we need to modify it. We'll just do it on our knees, you know. Yeah. And I understood that for, you know, although, side note, although the beginning of May, they had a 50 for the Future big weekend in Amsterdam. And I was blessed beyond just imagine to be invited to go and talk about this, even though it was only for like 5 minutes, but I was like, wow, you flew me around the world for 5 minutes and talk about it, that's awesome. Yeah. And I saw some incredible groups that played, and they had props and all kinds of other toys and things, and I was like, David, you yelled at me because you wouldn't put your violin down. They were putting their instruments down, they were putting on hats and holding up signs and all this, some of these other groups, but these are all songs from 50, for the future. And I was like, I just asked you for a split second of that. But anyway, that's where we are now. We're taking it home. We're taking it home. Okay? Remember, it's not as fast. Don't let it, speed up. North Cellarondo's written. Don't let it get fast. Just keep it right there. It's that good old feel music right there. All right? When you are playing and you are the lead, even when our violist comes in and plays, and you're doing you're doing all of that, you can still be as expressive as you want. Okay? You can be as expressive as you want when you are playing that other part as well. Everybody, when it gets, as we develop it, okay? And the whole thing about developing it is that that initial member that is now singing this, part, somebody is gonna have some sort of counter melody or something that's gonna go along with what they're doing. Somebody else is gonna have another counter melody to go along with what they're doing, to go along with what they're doing. Make sense? All right, here we go. About right here. On y'all. As we're now ending it, and we get to that, usually at the end of these songs, the clapping and the movement will stop before the song stops. And everybody is now, if they're really into it, they are now providing their own little testimony right then and there, with a thank you, Lord, or amen, or something like that. The song is ending, but everybody is now joining in providing what their kind of, like I said, testimony is. And so that's where we get to that. And by the time we get to the very last note, then now everybody is, let's give the Lord some praise or whatever have you. But that's kind of how this all plays out at the end. When you are playing those notes, I would even throw in a sliding. All right. After the let's see. So let's do measure 80. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Same thing. Anytime you play that lick, ya da da ba ba ba, put some space in between that concert F and that E flat. Big space. Actually, you can put space in between all of them. Ya da 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 da. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that 97 over there? So at 97, long, short. Make sure you get the short. Ya da ba da 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 ba da ya ya. Yeah. Same spot. This is that what's that going into? Yeah. And 1,